Hello, everyone. This is Suri, and I'm here with Sank, and this is Cremechiss. Today, we are back again with something we've been contemplating to talk about for a long time. But the movie that we are going to talk about today is so stupendously amazing. We had to take some time, figure out what we were going to talk about it because the fact of the matter is the man who has made this is a bloody genius. And he deserves all our love, all our support, because he's bringing to cinema what we can officially call the weird wave of out of the box thinking, but with the human story touch. We're talking about none other than Nope, Jordan Peele's Nope, which
Two
is,
negatives.
sorry, you are
Two negatives.
too
None
negative.
other than and nope.
None other than Nope. And if you've not watched Nope, you have come to the right place because Sank and I are going to spend the next couple of minutes convincing you why this science fiction slash thriller slash epic horror tale is something that you should be looking into if any of the above is your jam. So let's keep in mind that Nope is something which has been attempted. uh, all of these stories about stuff that cannot be explained, about unidentified things that exist in our real universe. All these stories have been attempted, but the treatment of the concept in Nope is very different. They talk about real people with real problems who are like people like you and I who have jobs in the morning. So whenever there's a science fiction story, um, the whole thing becomes about the science fiction element. There is no question about the person's day to day. Like, what do they do for a living? What do they do to feed themselves? Do they have to pay rent, etc., etc.? Nope is actually about people like you and I who are not, captains of galactic ships and whatnot, but experience something very, very otherworldly, very scary. Um, and to quote a very amazing dialogue from the movie, what do you call a miracle if it is a bad thing? And that's pretty much what the nuance of the story is. I watched this movie a little ahead of Sunk, so I'm kind of still reeling from the aftermath of it. I think Sunk watched it, what, like 2 days ago?
Yep.
Yeah.
And everything about it is still vivid.
Yeah. And if you're looking for a show which is basically, it's kind of like, uh, think about how you felt when you watched M. Night Shyamalan's Sixth Sense and how it made you feel, and how the story had an epic twist, and how it was about, in the end, about a person who was going through very real emotions. Uh, this is kind of this kind of falls in that genre because we are talking about two characters here, the protagonist and I want to say his sister. Although, I mean, we can argue that they're both protagonists, but the story is about a guy who owns a horse ranch in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in California. And he basically is setting up his business after his father's untimely death. And his father's death is also a weird one. He's looking up at the sky one day because random stuff is falling from the sky, and he gets injured because a dime goes straight through his skull, and that's how he dies. And the story is basically about his son trying to make sense of what happened, and his sister, who is kind of, outward and bubbly and has a very extroverted personality, but is kind of in denial about certain strange happenings that are happening right now in her home. And the story kind of takes off from there. We are going to try very, very hard to sidestep spoilers. And Sank and I decided that we'll probably announce that from this minute to this minute there are some spoilers. So maybe look out for that as you're listening in on us. And do let us know if you like this format, because we are intending to talk more about movies like this and sidestep spoilers as much as possible so you can still enjoy the film.
Yep. This movie is Jordan Peele's Don't Look Up. I'm pretty sure that was a working title, and then they changed it to Nope. We can't do that. So might as well just call it Nope. This movie dabbles with so many themes, right? What I love about this movie is that the pacing is very subtle, but it's not shying away from talking about a lot of things. And that is a very difficult thing to do. Like you're talking about when you're talking about themes, it sort of is a homage to film crews. And by film crews, I mean the maybe like the smallest of small roles that they play on screen and even off screen. Here they are telling their story through animal handlers. Then there's this theme of greed that he's also showing in the way that we see a man who is so determined to capture a certain phenomenon that it costs him something. We see Steven Yeun's character going through similar thing, or even in general when we're talking about the main criteria being not looking up, it's basically curiosity, right? The fact that whoever's looking up is that'll be spoilers, right?
It's not a spoiler. The theme of the movie is if you look up, you'll probably die.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the
So
movie.
it is talking about greed and curiosity, right?
Yes,
Like Steven Yeun goes through something in his childhood. I think we can talk about Gordy.
we can and we should
Okay,
because it is
so
the most
Steve,
terrifying scene I've ever seen in my life.
yes, so we'll get there soon. So Steven Yeun goes through the Gordy situation in his childhood, and but that doesn't stop him from that. He doesn't shy away from experimenting with that sort of thing again.
Yeah.
Like spectacle is still his thing. He still wants to be in show business, even if he has witnessed just the most brutal thing in his life.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this movie is dabbling with a lot of themes, but I don't want to compare it with us, as in like in terms of quality or anything.
Yeah.
But just when I look at Nope, and compare it with Us and Get Out, I see a change in pattern in Nope, in the sense that so Get Out had character setup and then it moved on to the reveal. Us also had character setup and then it moved on to the reveal. Here, the reveal actually happens maybe like 1 hour, 1 hour 30 into the movie.
Yeah.
It's not shying away from being subtle, being slow. The pacing, I think a lot of critics also have pointed this out that the main problem in Nope is pace, but I don't see it as problem. I see it as a great way of doing storytelling. Like Surbi and I are big fans of genre films in the sense that uh we are fans of movies that focus on a particular thing. Like if you're doing horror, you only do horror and not branch out to other genres in the same film.
Yeah.
And that's why maybe we are in the minority for liking Us more than Get Out. Can we say that without getting trolled?
Absolutely. 100%. I don't care who says what about this because, first of all, Jordan Peele is such a genius, wonderful creator that he doesn't deserve like any of the commentary on, oh my God, Get Out was so much better than that. Nope did not live up to the mark. Stop it. Just stop it. Nope is a fantastic film. And anyone who doesn't understand the beauty of Nope or the beauty of Us, why those movies are so important for storytellers like him, you just expecting him to talk about race all the time. That's the problem. You want Jordan Peele to talk about race, and you don't want to do anything other than that. That's the thing. If he says another story, if he creates another theme, if he indulges in a different genre which is not up to your expectations, quote unquote, I you get upset. And that's the problem with the audience. This is not Jordan Peele's issue. He doesn't owe anyone anything.
Yep, I would agree so much with that. So I was talking about the pattern, right? I think Nope distances itself more from Us and Get Out. Like we saw Us being vastly different than Get Out, right? But for me, I think Nope is even further away from what even Us was, in the sense that he's not again shying away from hurrying for the reveal to happen. He wants to take his own pace, Like I remember there's a supermarket scene, right, where they're in the supermarket and that's when they meet the electronic guy.
Yeah,
Until that point, I was actually very worried as to where the movie was going because it was confusing, not in the sense about the story, but
yeah.
I was actually wondering where the story is going at that point.
Mhm.
Okay. And but obviously it got like it all was addressed later on. And I think that is the beauty of No. The pattern is very much different from what Us and Get Out was. I would say this is a great, still, it's a great addition to his filmography.
Anyone who is paying attention right now to cinema has to understand that he is officially calling the shots on weird narration with the human touch, which does not happen that often in cinema because it is always about something larger than life. It's always about a billionaire playboy who's also a genius. It's about people who have these very horrifying understories about what they're going through on the day to day. It is never about something which impacts the characters that we see on the screen only. It's never about something unrelatable. It is never about something so out there that makes you go back and like question the theme of the story. And that's what Sank meant by the Gordy theme line. So Nope has this subplot about a chimp called Gordy who works with Stephen Young in a show when he was a child. And the subplot, if you watch the movie or if you've already watched the film, the subplot doesn't really go into matters about the grand theme of the storyline. But it is, as Sung points out, about greed ultimately. It is about expecting a person to behave in a particular way or expecting an animal to behave in a particular way because that's what it has been paid for and basically break it from its natural element. So a lot of the story's theme is about trying to break nature in ways that makes no sense. And when that happens and nature attacks back, quite literally, as per this movie shows us, what is the consequences that the person who tried to control the situation go through. And that's pretty much why Jordan Peele is a genius, because he brought in a storyline about a very underspoken theme of films about animals that go through a lot of cruelty, who go through a lot of demanding schedules, and they don't know what's going on. They're just animals. They are following suit. They are listening to the person who's feeding them their next meal. And to bend those innocent creatures to your will for the sake of greed, and then expecting them to not have a natural reaction to things that makes them uncomfortable, which actually gets covered in the first 5 minutes of the storyline as well, when our protagonist brings a horse for a shoot and they flash a random light in his face and the horse kind of freaks out and scares everybody on set because of the gaudy incident. So uh, again, layers on layers, so difficult to talk about this movie without spoiling anything.
We can get into that right now, right?
Yeah, yeah, let's get it.
Okay, fine. Okay, so if you haven't seen it and if you don't want us to spoil, if you don't want to hear the spoilers, go to the timeline that's the time that's flashing on the screen right now. Okay, let's get into it. Shall we talk about the big bad guy,
Let's talk
or do
about
you
the big
want to talk
bad guy.
about Gordy first? Okay.
Up to you. I will follow your suit on this because the beauty of this is it doesn't matter which one we talk about first, they're both related to each other. So
Okay, so let's talk about the spectacle. Okay, the spectacle of the big bad guy.
mhm.
Uh, I noticed that the extraterrestrial creature who's actually sucking people up in itself, who's actually eating people up, is actually shaped like an eye.
Yes.
It obviously looks like a flying saucer with a black thing in the middle of it. Okay, you can call it. You might also want to see it as a certain part of the human body where the
Oh God.
sun don't sun don't shine. But I saw it as an eye.
I get it. I get it. I see
Okay.
why you would say that. Yeah.
And because there's a shot where after sucking people up, after eating people up, we see the creature's insides and how its organs are actually squishing the people. It's actually suffocating the people that it's, eaten up. And that's what you actually see it as, because you see it and you think of it as a digestive system or something,
Yep.
right? So what was the best thing that you found out about the big bad guy?
My my best I think my favorite part about bad guy, and it's so weird we're calling it the bad guy because it's just a
Yeah,
thing
it's just
that's
a
doing its
creature.
thing.
Yeah,
It's just a creature. It's like, it's
it's
like
just
seeing a,
existing.
yeah, it's like seeing a
They
cheetah
actually
loose and getting upset that it's like, yeah, why is this cheetah like attacking animals? Like, that's what
they
cheetahs do.
actually he actually says it, right? Daniel Kaluuya's character, that he says that he thinks that it's his home or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he believes that's his territory, and like people are like interfering and intervening. So there is a lot to be said about the setup of this character, because initially when the story starts, the obvious jump to logic is, oh, this is a UFO. This is like an alien, like this is an alien, something that is observing these people and, like taking their livestock and attacking things and throwing objects at things in a very high velocity, whatever. But the reason that logic falls apart so quickly, and this is why Jordan Peele is the king of conspiracy dismantling. If you see, if you see Get Out, if you see this current film, you'll realize that it is about the dismantling of conspiracies. It's about not just like, I saw this and, the truth is out there and just leave it at that. Like, he actually goes into the semantics of it. That if you see a weird thing that's flying in the sky, the logic cannot be, oh, this is an alien come to spy on us. The logic has to be, what if this is a creature which is off this earth, which ultimately is the big bad guy? Like, this is not some alien. This is a creature that is like a long ancient creature that has somehow survived evolutionary cycles and whatnot, and now has found a place where it's comfortable because, it cannot be attacked over there or it cannot be seen over there. It's very intelligent, it's very intuitive, it hides itself under a cloud, and it shape shifts as and when required, and it is carnivorous. So anything that is moving or seems like it has life, it will devour, because that's how it operates. And it's very intelligent, unlike the humans that are spoken about in the story, who are very greedy. It doesn't like pounce on everything that moves. It waits. It hunts. It waits for everything to be quiet. It waits for it to not have witnesses. It has such a high velocity in its movement that it disrupts electronical devices. So cameras cannot capture it because they work on electricity. The lights actually go out when it's like whooshing past the house that the protagonist and his sister live in. So the character itself, in my opinion, like, and we will call it the big bad guy, because Jordan Peele, in his divine wisdom, has not given it a name other than calling it Jean
Mhm.
Jacket at one point. and
Yeah.
and that too, Jean Jacket is not the big bad guy's name. It's the name of a horse that was very territorial, that
Ah.
believed that he was the boss and the lord of the land. And similarly, this character too believes it's the boss and lord of this land. So Jean Jacket, or big bad guy, is just a bratty, weird little, might we say, ancient dragon type creature, which basically just, found a place, settled in there, and called it its home. Pretty much like most human beings who find a place, settle in there, and call it their home. So, um, again, hats off to Jordan Peele for giving us some something of an antagonist, but kind of not allowing us to hate it, because they humanize even this weird flying saucer thing at the end of the story. So
This this villain would again be part of the list of villains where we can empathize. If you are making a list of all the villains who
mhm,
had a proper motive and that we could relate to,
absolutely,
Jean Jacket would be one of them.
absolutely. So let's go into Gordy's story. Gordy's story is a subplot, like I mentioned earlier, and it has terrified, sunken me to a point where I have stopped watching Jane Goodall documentaries because like I used to watch like Jane Goodall documentaries to see how like the ape family lived and how what a peaceful community they are and how similar they are to human beings, etc., etc. Um, the and Gordy on the other hand is about so Gordy is a character on this fictional show, um, and it is about how they have like a bunch of chimps that play this random chimp animal actor on the show, and there's a bunch of them, and the character's name is Gordy, but the chimp that plays Gordy we don't know the name of. So there's this one scene where they're celebrating someone's birthday, and they bring in a bunch of balloons. And when they leave those balloons, they have obviously like they float up, and I think they hit the lights or something. So some of them pop, and this chimp actor is on set with them. And when he hears the popping of the balloons, it kind of sounds like gunshots. And I think that freaks him out. So this chimp has some PTSD or a natural, you know, fight or fight or flight response to something that sounds like gunshots, and he loses it. And this a seemingly friendly animal suddenly becomes crazy, and he loses his shit on set. What were your first thoughts when you saw that happen? In the opening scene, they talk about Gordy, and then they go into the depth of what actually happened on the set that day. What were your initial thoughts? Like, what were you expecting?
I was probably like, I was awed by the way he shot that scene, in the sense that the movie itself starts with it, right? So we see that shoe, which is which is like right in the center of the frame. It's standing right in the center of the frame. And then we see the ape bloodied. At that point, it's probably a sort of unclear whether what has happened. And then he actually breaks the fourth wall. Gordy actually breaks the fourth wall. And that's when we know that he's actually in control of that whole scene. Okay. So when it comes back to it, okay, what I loved about, so before we see the actual thing happening, we see Steven Yeun actually explaining. And there's this sort of weird thing that happens where that when Kiki Palmer's character, the sister, she asks him about what happened, he's not actually able to explain it properly. He deviates from it, and he's talking about something that happened on SNL, how they parodied that thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think that also is sort of talking about his PTSD, where he hasn't actually come to terms with it.
Mhm.
And maybe that's why he actually decides to do the show and everything, because he hasn't wrapped his head around whatever that happened with him. And then we actually see what has happened. Now, I talked about how the scene takes place, right? It was really it was really fascinating for me to know that I was able to be scared with something that was happening, with the violence that was happening mostly off screen. Like, we see the sitcom being shot, and then the scene fades to black, and then we see Gordy having wrecked all the havoc in the scene from the point of view of young Steven Yeun. I have never seen, like, in 2022 at least, I have never seen something like that.
Yeah.
It was horrifying. We see even the dad character being beaten to death, and even that is not completely on screen.
Yeah.
Okay. It terrified me. But then again, there's a switch where we see Gordy actually coming to reality. Like,
Mhm.
maybe something switched. You talked about the balloons, right?
Yeah.
Maybe something happened. Maybe he saw the kid. Maybe he saw Steven Yeun's character. And maybe that reminded him of that, this is the kid that I always play with.
Yeah.
And maybe that uh, sobered him up something.
Yeah.
And then another switch happens where he's about to fist bump him, and
Yeah.
then he gets shot. Oof. When we are making a list of all the best scenes of 2022 at the end of the year, this is going to be high up there. I'm very sure about it.
Oh, absolutely. The fist pump is somehow the most terrifying part for me, for the scene where he walks up to Steven little child
Yeah.
Steven, right? Because Steven is a baby in this. In the Gordy scene, they're showing a child who is hiding under a table, which is not going to give him any protection in any way. We saw this thing take down like full-fledged human beings, bite off a portion of someone's face, like it's freaky. And then when he walks towards and you see the blood dripping off of his fist when he tries to fist bump the child, I I just, and in that moment I realized we are not better than animals, because if physically we are ridiculous, like we have no defense whatsoever against an animal. The only thing that we have up on animals are our weapons. You take that away from us and we are nothing. Like we would literally die in wildlife. We would be completely useless without our weapons.
Maybe that's why cats always judge us.
Yeah, silently. But
Yeah.
through the shadows, they're like, oh my God, these
Yeah.
clawless freaks.
Here's here's a dead mouse for you because you're so incapable of hunting.
Which is like, yeah, I mean, when they look at us, like we are probably vulnerable 99% of the time in their eyes, which makes complete sense why they like, like also makes sense why dogs are like so, protective and funny around us, because they think like, wow, such soft creatures, like our ancestors bore fangs for everything, and these people just kind of give us belly rubs. Like that's hilarious. So, like we are
Oh,
this, right?
by the way, that reminds me that blood that Jean Jacket pukes.
Mhm.
Maybe that's a sign of Jean Jacket like gifting them something. Like here it is, some more human blood for you because I've never seen you guys hunting.
That scene is horrifying though. I saw that as an intimidation tactic. Like Jean Jacket knew there were moving creatures, but because they were hiding in the truck and the house, he kind of vomited blood on them to show the extent of its power.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Even I saw it like that.
yeah,
This might be
yeah.
one of the theories, though.
But yeah, let's I think there isn't more to talk about. The end scene is phenomenal. The actors are all amazing. You will not
Like,
complain 1 second, right?
like we can spend a whole video just talking about the movies that Jordan Peele has referenced,
Mhm.
right? From Akira to Close Encounters of the Third Kind to so many alien movies and everything. But the genius of Jordan Peele is, I was talking about genre filmmaking, right?
Yeah.
This is a great addition to his filmography, not only his filmography, but also to the genre of genre films. I would say the reason, so the thing about genre films is that not a lot of people would actually like it. Only the people who are true to, who are actual fans of the horror genre would actually like something like this. And no wonder that people did not find it as enticing as Get Out and Us, because it's talking in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a poem. It's a poem about greed. Talking about two unrelated incidents and telling us as human beings that we don't learn. We never learn. We see an opportunity to monetize something, we're going to monetize it, regardless of our own well being. Like, we will sacrifice ourselves over money. Our, like, you would think the healthy thing for Stephen Yan to do would be to completely get out of the spotlight because of what he experienced. Instead, he creates a memorabilia room where he has even the bloodied shoe of one of his cast members as, like a keepsake, so that people can come and see that for a fee. And it's in his house, like his office is next to that room. I I
uh,
don't. It's just like what a horrible,
Eerie.
unhealthy thing to do. Ugh.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the story. Like, and Sank is 100% right. The reason, if you go to Rotten Tomatoes and you see its rating, I'm going to say this again. You guys are missing the point. You're missing the point hard about the point about what he's trying to indicate through his storytelling. So
But then
maybe.
again,
Mhm.
yeah. But then again, I don't think anything can change that rating, because this is not something that all of them are supposed to like. This is
Yeah,
this movie, when I'm pretty sure when he was making, he knew that it will be divided. There
yeah.
will be two sides of two widely different opinions about this movie.
Closing thought of mine. Um, this is a story without loopholes. You will not find any loopholes in the story. It's very
Mhm.
difficult to write a science fiction film based in horror elements, trying to have a very absurd twist at at the same time. Somewhere in the middle of the story, it doesn't wait till the end of the story to reveal what the story is about. But it's almost impossible to write a loophole-free script and not chalk it out to cinematic license, because we've seen that happen, right? If you've watched M. Night Shyamalan's Signs, it's about an alien invasion, and there are a lot of loopholes in the story. And you chalk that up to cinematic license because you're trying to tell a story which has not been attempted before. Jordan Peele has perfected it. He is standing on the shoulders of a lot of science fiction writers who could not, bridge in the gaps to certain holes in the plot, but he managed to do that in a time where the audiences question everything. The foreshadowing has to have a meaning. The meaning of a meaning has to have a meaning. Stephen Yan's t-shirt had a flying saucer embroidered into the back of his shirt when he wore his cowboy whatever get up. You saw that, like, everything has meaning in today's time. We are not liable to say, oh, he did that because it's awesome. Like, no, that's not, unfortunately, the audiences Jordan Peele is dealing with. And in spite of that, to write a plot with no gaps in it, it's it's an amazing feat. Like, he has done so much justice to the person who paid money for that movie.
Okay, spoke way too much. We went over time, but that's how passionate we are about this movie. That's how much we can't stop thinking about it. So yeah. Oh, by the way, let's have a quiz, right? Let's have the quiz.
Yes.
Okay, so me and Surbi, we have a quiz. Uh, let us know the answers in the comments. Now the quiz is: there were two movies this year that had the two protagonists riding a bike and a horse at the same time. One, as you know, is RRR. Can you tell us the second movie? A hint would be that we've already spoken about the movie on our channel. So let us know the answers in the comments. And please, please, please like, share, and subscribe to our videos. We are very much desperate for your likes and for your feedbacks. You're watching our videos, but we really want to know what you think about them. So please let us know what you thought about this video, and do check out our other videos as well.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.